Hey everybody, so we got some more World of Warcraft news here today. So this one is talking about the DragonFlight leak. This is literally on their own website, worldofwarcraft.com. In the JavaScript file, one of them, we located a WoW Dragonflight base pre-purchase, WoW Dragonflight heroic pre-purchase, and WoW Dragonflight epic pre-purchase, which is pretty badass. And that kind of fits with what World of Warcraft has been doing these days anyways, and Blizzard with their 3 edition model. So that looks really interesting. So that was directly from worldofwarcraft.com. There was another one here. These were supposed to be leaked possible photo or graphics for it. I would say they're pretty legit, though the graphics and whatnot can change completely dramatic. I can see it happening just for the fact that, this is an art, the art here probably of an art desk of somebody working. Somebody came by and took a snapshot, but Blizzard probably would change it even if this was sort of their final look at it originally, just for the fact that they probably want to prove people wrong in a sense. But my guess is a disgruntled employee, which there's been a lot of them from last year there to this year, probably took this picture on their way out and posted this online. And then here is the certification list here. So Blizzard's actually getting these done on the Amazon servers, yeah. And you got dragonflight.blizzard.com. So this kind of really confirms it. This is what they do for expansions. They usually have a subdomain, and they need to have a certified for it. And they're doing it ahead of time, obviously here, which is interesting. And then this one makes it even more interesting. Now this is completely speculation. And honestly, I really hope this is real in many ways. Because it would change Blizzard, or World of Warcraft, I should say, for the better, I think, for the long run, as long as they do it right. And honestly, Blizzard, play some EverQuest 2 to get some, inspiration. So the main enemy is going to be Chromatus, though lots of minor stories all about, which is interesting because a lot of people are wondering if they were going to kind of like get away from a main story and break down the stories a bit smaller, which is interesting. And keep in mind, this was posted in February 8th, before all these other leaks showed up. This came first. Random guy on MMO Champion registers and gets banned. Whether or not it's real, who knows? But I like the speculation, even if it isn't. People have been wanting like more smaller, enjoyable stories. 6 disconnected zones, 2 of them being revamped, which is interesting. I know people want a total revamp, but I don't think Blizzard really wants to do that. So, anyways, we'll see. 2 of them being revamps anyways. 4 new micro classes. So these are 1 spec each instead of 1 full class. So basically, instead of having 3 or even 4 specs per 1 class, you'd actually have these 4 micro ones, which it would just be like pure DPS. Maybe it's even a pure tank or something like that. I don't know if they'd go that. They probably would, because I was going to say, I can't see them not offering, just DPS purely, just because already, you're usually short on healers and tanks. So providing maybe at least 1 tank and 1 healer, 2 DPS out of that. Honestly, that wouldn't be probably a bad idea. That's sort of like what they do in a lot of MMOs now. The 4 group, 1 tank, 1 healer, and 2 DPS. But that might not actually be a bad one to try to balance that. So, hoping people will spread out through those 4 new classes, maybe even balance the healer and tanks. Maybe. Class skins from pre-existing classes. Player housing. Now, this has been a big one for a long time. Now, obviously, with World of Warcraft, it'll be instance. They have a vast land and old content now. They could add a little less instanced housing, but I don't see that happening just because of the way they can put, they pretty much could have a mega server these days and just throw everyone on there, and then they just instance all the different zones. So my guess is it would be instance, but how much control does the player have? Are they going to be like, kind of like modular inserts where, kind of like the garrisons, or will it be something even bigger? I don't know. I think it's a great idea. I love the idea. I think player housing has been always something they should have done. And I like to see them have it around the whole world. Like, you go back to like a very ancient zone and they created a player housing for that. I hope they just don't go crazy and add 100 places day one, but at the same time, I hope they add things over time, new housing here and there, and you can collect them if you like. Another thing I would love to see in player housing is items for your housing dropped in many different ways. If it's a rare drop that possibly can drop off a mob, if it's something that drops in raids and dungeons, things like that. If it's through some achievements that you gain, I would love to take the story, the lore that you've earned and you worked on, and bring that into your house in some way. If you ever played EverQuest 2, you know how insane they've done their housing and how amazing it is. Honestly, almost every time there's a housing chat on the MMORPG world, basically EverQuest 2 just rocks housing, even compared to WildStar. But even if they hit the level of WildStar, it'd be amazing. I just hope they would incorporate, the housing items and things like that with older content, but as well with the new content. Give us a reason to go back and farm random things, but also, for the future. So that kind of sounds interesting. You got Carpenter and Logger professions, which that sounds awesome, and it would make sense for housing. So basically, you got the person who goes and, logs, obviously, for lots of wood. And then you got the carpenter profession that would craft a lot of the housing decorations. Exactly. Well, we don't have a logger profession in EverQuest. Basically, everyone is a gatherer, but the carpenter is the big one there. And I think they have tens of thousands of recipes. Not kidding you. Then you got the Dalaran capital city again. Kind of makes sense, especially with dragons. It definitely makes sense if it got moved around or used again. I would like it to be in a nicer spot, though. I don't know. I guess it wasn't too bad in Legion. Legion was an amazing expansion for so many other reasons, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. It hasn't been too bad in other expansions, to be fair. So, but a third time in Dalaran, it might be a bit too much, but maybe they'll just revamp it. Maybe they'll just go crazy with it and offer a little bit more with it and kind of modernize it. Who says it can't, evolve as time goes on as well, right? So, and then rewards for Shadowlands get scaled down. Everything is okay. Yeah. So no level cap. So basically, that is the same thing as what we assumed and that they were planning. So they just get scaled down. Everything is 10 is max level content. Level 60, no level squash. Just there will be no need to level if you're already max level. Characters progression is just endgame progression. That is interesting. I don't know if that would be true or even possible. If it is, cool. I just don't know how. Blizzard has said a million times over and over, and in most MMOs saying the leveling is literally like where all the content exists. Now, EverQuest does this, actually. EverQuest is probably a good example. EverQuest releases an expansion. They do one expansion where it levels, and then another expansion that doesn't level. Then another one that levels, and one that doesn't. And that sort of works out, but they haven't been doing squishing, so they can do billions of damage, not killing you. It's ridiculous at this point. But I could see it working out okay, as long as, there's relevant things to do in those, say, 6 disconnected zones, like all the new zones, and it's more enjoyable and there's things to actually enjoy, and giving more story to those zones kind of makes sense. But I guess we'll see. They say Dragon Islands technically own continent, though just one zone splitting multiple maps, floating islands between the Broken Isles and Northrend. Okay. Lordaeron, Revamped, Tirisfal, Plaguelands, Scarlet, Light Focus, I can't say it right. The one up in the north, right? Revamped Eversong, Ghostlands, Silvermoon is a hostile city for Suramar. Undermine, city zone beneath Kezan. Criminals are uncrowned. Story, full underground. Balor, halfling race dealing with primordial fell enemies. Think proto-demons like what the Shadowland creatures are to the undead. Aldaz, second fully underground zone. Everon, Azeroth, Titan, Alune story here. That's cool. So is this more on the thing? So Dragon Knight. Okay, so Dragon Knight. 1 tank, spec, 2-handed weapons, fire, plate armor, and shouts. Tinker class. Only 1 damage dealer spec, uses gems, mail, armor, gadgets, and mech suits. Minstrel class, only a healer spec, uses leather, lutes, and violins, and pan flutes. Oh my goodness. Chromamancer class, only 1 healer spec, Uses cloth, time magic, and sand magic. That sounds cool. Dark Ranger skin for hunters. Dark spell effect tames undead instead of animals. Necromancer skin for warlocks. Plagues instead of curses. Summons undead instead of demons. Nightmare skin for druids. Corrupted spell effects and animal forms can be unlocked while different forms that play the same as normal druids, like snakes and spiders. Dragon Sworn skin for shamans. Draconic spells, effects, and forms. Warden skin for demon hunters, uses arcane and holy magic instead of fel. That just feels weird, but I mean, it could be, possible. Then again, a lot of them are quite impactful, these skins, so that's kind of interesting. A continued order hall class stories through only a select few, and you pick them like the Covenants. There are no gameplay differences between them, just different campaigns, mounts, mogs, and companions. The Silverhand, the Uncrowned, the Kirantor, the Veljar, the Black Harvest. You are not considered the leader of the order. Expansion announcement on February 28th. Announcement for the announcement is planned for the 18th. Goal is to release it Q1 2023, which, I mean, even that speculation makes sense because I've been speculating to other people who've been downvoting me like crazy on Reddit and things that I can't see an expansion getting released this year. But, I mean, you never know. But this is interesting. This is really interesting. Whether or not it's real, like this part here, we'll have to find out. But, honestly, it's insane, but this one could really change the face of WoW. It could bring a lot of people back, and if they've done it right, it could really, it could be the future starter for really getting WoW back on gear, honestly. They just have to really do things like the housing right. I can't say enough, like, doing the carpenter and the housing and things like that is really important. Doing more stories outside of the main plot is going to be really important. Giving more to do in the zones is going to be important. One thing that World of Warcraft, WoW has, EverQuest 2 has compared to WoW is this thing called collections, which is a lot of fun. Basically, these little shinies in these zones. It's kind of silly, but people literally spend so much time doing it. They have all these little extra content. I think the housing will be perfect for that, but I think one thing that WoW misses, and they should start adding, is a new piece of hardware to the game that you can continue to play with when another expansion comes. So less of this one-time mechanic crap and more of this like a player housing. Maybe, in 2 years from now, they'll add some sort of new collection system or whatever. But they should add new things to the base game that gives it that enjoyment. Like, think about when they added the pets and the Pokemon style gameplay. It was phenomenal. I mean, it was one of the best things they've done. At first it was like, but it was actually a lot of fun. It gave us a lot of things to grind, a lot of things to do. And I think just that alone was a huge impact to the game. And I think if they continue adding things like that to the game, they could really not only bring old players back, but they also give people things to do when they don't want to be raiding. Or if they continue doing stupid things like, oh, I'm sorry, you're doing solo content? Please wait 24 hours to continue again. You've done your daily amount. Like some of that weird stuff they were doing in Shadowlands. I mean, give us some other things to do. Let us grind things. There's only so much transmogs and pets we can grind. We've done so much of it over the years. Give us more content like that and then fill it in with the old world so we can enjoy it even more. Anyways, my friends, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. We'll see what happens, though. I'm excited for this. Remember, all this could be speculation. I'm pretty sure it's going to be called DragonFlight, but what you're reading here on the MMO Champion, honestly, I can believe it. I would give it I'm going to give it a 75% chance I can believe this. That being said, do things get removed or killed out of this for one reason or another? Possibly. But the reason I believe it is because World of Warcraft went through massive restructuring. A lot of people got canned, lost their jobs. A lot of corporate changes happened. A lot of leaks could have happened in that time. So honestly, I could see something happening like that. Anyways, my friends, thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing, commenting, liking, all that fun stuff. And we'll see wonderful people next time. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.